Hello and welcome back to Particular Pixels. I'm Xiaoling and this is my review of Resident Evil 4 2023. I've always enjoyed the Resident Evil series. I played the originals years ago on my PS1 and Resident Evil 4 on my PC when it was originally released in 2005. And while I did play through it a few times back then, it has been around 18 years since, so keep that in mind. On deliberating how I was going to approach this review, I've decided that while I will make a few comparisons to the original, I'm mainly going to focus on how it stands on its own merits. In all honesty, aside from the nostalgia and the memories of the original being a pretty good game, if I recall, I don't remember the minutiae so very clearly, and it would be remiss of me to try and go into detail in this regard. So you play as Leon Kennedy and have been tasked with rescuing the president's kidnapped daughter, Ashley, from the Los Illuminados cult under the codename Baby Eagle. Needless to say, things are far more nefarious than you had initially anticipated. They've kept true to the original in almost every respect, with cutscenes and locations mirroring the original along with a number of other improvements. The voice acting, lip syncing and cutscenes are done very well, and as a result kept the experience enjoyable all the way through. Leon remains badass and still has funny quips now and then, but overall the experience is a more serious and a darker affair than what I remember from the original. I see that some folks have complained about the voice work with Ada Wong. I'm no expert in voice lines, but I did not find them to be an issue at all, or shall I rather say I didn't find that they soured the experience for me at all. As usual, I'm not going to go into any story specifics here since I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who haven't already played the game and are planning to do so. I also want to add that it's entirely possible to jump into this game without having played any of the other games in the series. The story stands on its own and is not a continuation or directly connected to the events in the previous games. Visually, the game looks great, and it's not just a graphics upgrade. They've made some creative improvements in aesthetics and layouts. As a result, I think that the overall look and darker theme make for a better experience. The audio is heavy and impacting and adds a lot of weight to both the movement and the combat, and also complements the animations well. The music itself is also fitting, driving every scenario, maintaining the tension in the quiet sections, as well as keeping up the intensity in each of the action set pieces scattered throughout the game. The gameplay of the original Resident Evil 4 departed from the survival horror elements and was focused more on action and combat. The remake improves on these systems and adds some new systems that weren't present in the original release. Leon can now move while shooting. This is a big change since it allows you to evade some enemy attacks merely by moving to the side or backing up. The added mobility makes everything flow much more in my opinion and allowed me to get out of some hairy situations. It's now also possible to parry incoming attacks with the knife. Perfect parries will stun enemies and allow you to perform a melee attack. To counter the power of this, knives have durability, so every stealth kill, ground execution or a parry will reduce its durability until it breaks, after which it can no longer be used. The durability of your knife can be upgraded and repaired at the merchant. If your main knife breaks and you have a spare pickup knife, that can be used in the interim. Crafting is another addition. You are now able to pick up a variety of resources, gunpowder, small resources, large resources, to craft various kinds of ammo if you have the respective recipe. And as with all the other Resident Evil games, you can pick up first aid sprays, red, green and yellow herbs, which you can combine to make healing vials. Any use combined with the yellow herb will also permanently increase your maximum health. All the weapons can be upgraded at the merchant as well. There are a fair variety of them. Some seem to be just better versions of the starter weapons, but all of them have their strengths and weaknesses, and I think your playstyle will really determine how useful any particular weapon is going to be. They certainly are all viable and feel great to use, except the bolt gun, which I never really connected with. I'm sure some of you will though. You also have an attaché case, which dictates the size of your inventory essentially. This case can be upgraded throughout the game to increase your inventory space. In addition to this, the type of case you have actually adds a bonus and can have up to 3 charms attached to as well, which will add more bonuses. For example, the default case adds a high chance to find pistol ammo, whereas the red attaché case increases the chance to get red herb drops. The deluxe edition comes with a gold case, which increases the monetary drops that you find in the game. Charms add bonuses to the amount of ammo crafted, for example 15-20% extra ammo, or cheaper armor repairs, movement speed increases and that kind of thing. There are a number of these charms that can be unlocked via winning tokens in the shooting game challenge that can be accessed at various parts of the game. Some charms are for sure better than others. If you're lucky, you'll get some of the better ones. The shooting game is quite enjoyable and provides a bit of a distraction from the main game itself. Inventory management is also a very real issue in the game, and you'll be constantly having to make decisions on what to keep and what to take, since only weapons and first aid sprays can be moved into your storage bay. Treasury is back. You'll find all manner of valuable items throughout the game. Some of these can be sold directly to the vendor, but others can have jewels inlaid in them, which increase the value even more. Jewels come in a variety of shapes and colors, so inlaying a valuable item with different colored gems offers the largest bonus. You'll get a fair amount of cash throughout the game, so really that's not anything to worry about, I suppose, unless you're playing on a much harder difficulty. Finally, the merchant also offers challenges in each area, which when completed will reward you with spinal gems. These can also be found hidden in drawers and chests and such like. Spinals are tradable gems that will give you access to a variety of other items that cannot be purchased with currency in the game. Enemies also drop loot when they die, whether it be ammo, currency, gems or herbs. The loot drops from enemies and breakable containers seems to be random, so there's always going to be a little bit RNG as to exactly what you will be finding. All of these gameplay changes make the remake a better flowing game experience in my opinion, far less clunky than the original was, and allow you to do what you need to do without having to fight against the controls. Certainly the ability to parry and block incoming projectiles or shoot dynamite and Molotov wielding enemies adds a degree of skill to each encounter. Enemies can also randomly transform into the plugger mutation variations on death, which adds more to the randomness of each encounter as well. There are several puzzles scattered throughout the game. All of them are pretty easy and barely required any thought, so they didn't really slow down the pacing at all. You'll be also fighting a number of bosses throughout the game, all different and interesting. None of them were unfair or incredibly difficult, but these encounters certainly kept me on my feet. One or two of these encounters definitely stood out above the rest, but I'll leave that for you folks to discover, since again I don't want to spoil anything. Overall though, I felt that the pacing was perfect. The balance of exploration, story and action sequences worked well to create a seamless experience. I didn't feel at any point that I was getting bored or that things were getting repetitive or tiresome. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment I spent in the game. In fact, I found myself starting a second playthrough the moment the end credits rolled, which is really not so common for me. As with the original, the Resident Evil 4 remake is incredibly replayable due to the number of secrets, unlockables, and the excellent and enjoyable combat. Playing through the first time took me around 22 hours plus minus. Subsequent playthroughs will of course be much faster, since you'll be skipping cutscenes and also be much more familiar with each encounter and location. I normally keep notes while I play through a game for review purposes, but by the time I reached the end of Resident Evil 4, I realized that my issues list was relatively thin, especially rare these days, I think. Of course, I can't speak for every PC player out there, but my experience was free of any technical problems aside from the minor and occasional traversal stutter. Overall, the game ran very well, and I did not stumble across any bugs or outright crashes. However, there is something I need to talk about, and that is Capcom suddenly dropping a ton of paid DLC after the majority of reviews were out. I already took issue with the Treasure Map DLC, which basically adds more loot into the game for real money, loot you won't actually be in the game unless you purchase the DLC to get the map. So now I see that they've added an additional 11 exclusive upgrade ticket DLCs. The exclusive upgrade is normally earned by getting 30 spinels in the game, at least for the first one, and paying a large sum of cash in addition to that to unlock the exclusive weapon upgrade. This upgrade varies depending on the weapon you are going to apply it to, but needless to say they are all quite powerful. Ordinarily you would be required to fully upgrade each weapon before you'd be able to purchase this exclusive upgrade. The ticket basically allows you to bypass the upgrade requirement and directly unlock the bonus for in-game currency. However, the paid tickets allow you to bypass the upgrade requirement and get the exclusive upgrade for free. Now, I understand that Resident Evil 4 is a single-player game, and many will say it doesn't really matter, and of course I'm free to choose to not buy them. And while that may be true, I think this sets a bad precedent. Thankfully, at least in this case, the game is not designed to be unfair in order to make the ticket or treasure DLC necessary to purchase. You can do just fine without them, you'll find plenty of money, and you can just earn spinels to get these upgrade tickets. I imagine these are for players willing and wanting to speed up the upgrades in subsequent playthroughs, but the idea of time savers doesn't really sit right with me in general. Resident Evil 4 2023 is an excellent game in every regard. I am hard pressed to find fault with it. In fact, this for me is probably one of the best games I've played in a very long time. It's incredibly enjoyable and has a ton of replay value. As a remake, I think it improves on the original in every conceivable way and stands tall as a great game aside from the previous game's legacy. Whether you've played the original or new to the series, this is an experience you really shouldn't miss out on. I highly recommend that you play Resident Evil 4 2023. Anyway, I think that about sums up my thoughts on the game. If you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the section below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Shalding, and I'll see you guys next time.